Well, all right, preparing for this Shakedown Colorado Trail section hike. Heading out less than a week. It's Sunday. We're going on Friday. We're heading to Colorado. I'm trying to get all my gear permethrined. We're going to do a little bit of a gear comparison here. Side by side, I've got my 6 Moon Designs Lunar Solo, and then picked up for Deman to use this Lanshan, which is basically the off-brand version of the Lunar Solo. All right, so we've got the Lunar Solo, 6 Moon Designs. I'll get the specs for you towards the end of the video. I'm actually going to take them both down after they're done being sprayed with permethrin, and I will weigh each of them side by side. The 6 Moon Designs did not come with these additional guy lines. It came with the guy out, but you had to buy the extra guy line individually. And the Lanshan actually came with those guys pre-attached. On top of that, the Lanshan came with actually 9 stakes, and the Lunar Solo did not. I've got a Lecky Cristallo AS trekking pole in there, set at 125 centimeters on both of them. Just visually, they're pretty much the same tent. First thing I notice is that setup is pretty much identical, other than the fact that the Lunar Solo, the mesh part and the rainfly part are all just one tie out. And on the Lanshan, your floor and your rainfly actually have 2 separate connections to the stake. I'm guessing, I haven't opened it yet, but I'm guessing that's going to give you a better control over your bathtub floor. As you open them up, the next thing you notice is that they both have pretty much the same very generous vestibule, but you can immediately discern the difference. The Lunar Solo, it's a single wall tent, and the Lanshan is actually a dual wall. Gives you the versatility of being able to take that rainfly off or use just the rainfly as a tarp tent. Also, as I suspected, the bathtub floor is well more pronounced because of the way it attaches to that rainfly. One thing I will note is I do my trekking pole point at the bottom, and on the instructions, at least for the Lunar Solo, it suggests that you do it the other way. But I've always been uncomfortable because I don't use the caps, that the point would actually puncture this up here. It would actually puncture that, so I do the point down. One thing I've always noticed with my Lunar Solo, which I've camped in several times, is the floor, although it's supposed to be ample space, it is ample space, but I've never perfected the pitch. I've done it several times and I have yet to perfect the pitch to get a good floor open. Whereas that Lanshan, I can say beyond a shadow of doubt, this is the first time I ever pitched this tent. I literally just opened the package. That floor is solid, it's flat, and that bathtub floor looks fantastic. So inside the Lunar Solo, you see you got plenty of headroom to sit up in the middle of the night if you need to sit up, whatever, if you're trying to hang out in the middle of a rainstorm. It's got good ventilation, I will grant it that. In fact, I've had challenges trying to reduce the ventilation to not let quite so much breeze come through. But after a little tinkering, I can usually get that situated when I'm out in the woods. Plenty of floor space. I personally have had myself and a 65-pound dog in this tent with my gear. Well, to be fair, my gear was in the vestibule, but we both were in here, and she squirmed a little bit, and we were comfortable and had no problems. I cannot complain about total area of the Lunar Solo. It's comfortable, it's ample, and with that vestibule, you got plenty of room for anything you need. Height-wise, the Lanshan is just as nice as the Lunar Solo. Again, you've got that nice bathtub floor that has no problems maintaining its structure. Having the dual wall tent, I'm guessing condensation's not quite as big an issue, although I have yet to have any issues with the Lunar Solo. But I'm sure ventilation is really nice in this thing. Area appears to be pretty much the same. Might be just a skosh shorter. Not by much though. I can tell just by looking at the video that I've got about a foot of space between my head and the edge, although my feet are touching the far wall. But again, I don't think you'd have any problems with storing your gear and being able to hang out in here if it were kind of inclement weather and you needed a place to chill. So obviously this is going to come down to, in the end, final weight and durability. You've got, on the one hand, you've got the single wall American made tent and the 6 Moon Designs, the Lunar Solo, which up till now has been my favorite backpacking tent. And then you've got the off-brand Amazon Lanshan. It's a dual wall tent. Ultimately, like I said, it's going to come down to durability and weight. If it'll last as long and it basically weighs the same as the Lunar Solo, it may be my new favorite tent. It pretty much has corrected all the problems that I found with the Lunar Solo. The fact that no matter how nice the bathtub floor is on the Lunar Solo, it just doesn't stay a bathtub floor. Whereas first pitch, right out of the package, perfect pitch on this Lanshan. That's impressive to me. The fact that right out of the package, it came with everything I needed, versus the Lunar Solo, I had to get my own stakes. I had to add the extra guy line. It definitely looks like it might be just a skosh smaller, but in the end, if it turns out it's going to last as long as the Lunar Solo, and it weighs, I mean, if it's even within a few ounces, I think it's probably going to replace the Lunar Solo, which got the tents packed back up. They're all dried from their permethrin treatment. As you can see, the Lanshan actually comes with a compression bag. A little bit nicer, although when I'm on the trail, especially for extended time, I usually just stuff it all in my pack anyway. So I guess that's debatable. Got the scale here. Those are actually right there. Those are the trekking poles that I used to pitch both tents. So let's start with the Lunar Solo. Now, the Lunar Solo is price point is $200, and that's without the things that I was mentioning before. Weighs in 1 pound, 15.3 ounces in the bag. That's the tent and 8 stakes that I had to buy, plus the extra guy line and the guy line lockouts that I purchased from Amazon. And there's no footprint in there. Again, that's a $200 tent, and it is, it's about 7.5 feet, so it is about a foot longer than the Lanshan. But again, the Lanshan came with everything you need for perfect pitch right out of the box, and almost half the price. It's $110 on Amazon. And there you have it. 1 pound, 15.6 ounces. So when it's all said and done, they weigh basically the same. It comes down to the weights being pretty well identical, but the Lunar Solo, which is the one on the left, is a little bit thicker material. The floor on that Lunar Solo is a 40D nylon, and the canopy is a 20D nylon. Whereas on the Lanshan, the one on the right by Meir, the floor is only 20D, which is the same as the canopy on the Lunar Solo, and the rainfly on the Lanshan is only a 15D nylon. Now, that's going to be your trade-off in weight when you've got the extra no-seam mesh for the dual wall on the Lanshan. That's why we can come out to basically the same weight when you include the stakes and everything else. So in the end, we're talking about basically the same weight for half the price. The Lanshan comes ready to set, ready to pitch for $110 on Amazon. The Lunar Solo is $200. That's without seam sealing, by the way. The seam sealing through Six Moon Designs is an extra $30. And the Lanshan is seam sealed for the $110. The Lanshan comes complete, ready to pitch. The Lunar Solo, you still have to buy stakes. You have to add those additional guy lines and guy line lockouts. It's a tough call. It's an off-brand Amazon tent versus an American-made cottage brand that has got a lot of cool stuff. I've got a couple of different Six Moon Designs items. But I think, for me, at least until it proves it's not capable, the Lanshan's going to replace the Lunar Solo in my pack.